Working with Empire Flippers, it's been very helpful and very easy. They've been very understanding. We had questions; they were very quick to answer them, and if we had any little problems, they were there for us.
We were in a situation. We used to live in LA. And our son needed a special program that was being offered south of us, closer to San Diego, about 2.5 hours away. And we wanted to get him, we were determined to get him into this school because we thought it would be beneficial. So Sandro and I sat down and sort of brainstormed and said, how can we do what we need to do, which is to leave our full-time jobs and start making income independently so that we wouldn't be attached to one place. And then we'd be able to move and also do what we need to do for our son, which we'd be more available to him. I came across Empire Flippers and I shared it with Sandro. And eventually we did take our money and buy 2 Shopify stores from Empire Flippers. I worked at Sony Pictures in Culver City, and I was a television production auditor.
And I used to work at NBC Universal, and I was a telecom analyst.
Well, it gives us a lot of freedom, so we love that. Our time is our own, and we're not tied to a location anymore, so we can be where we want to be or where we need to be.
We can go to all the events, our son's events at school. We can both go. It's not, before it was like, can one of us possibly make it?
Right.
And I mean, I was lucky for a while that I happened to be physically close to his school, but even then it was difficult to say to my boss, hey, can I just leave like now at 2:30 and come back at 5? And now we just do it. We just go where we need to go and do what we need to do when we want to do it.
When we got into it, we knew that we would have to discuss more and get along better, and we do our best with that. But a lot of times we get impatient with the whole communication process,
yeah.
And then when that happens, of course, then we'll have an argument or something like that. But luckily, we do typically work these things out. We wouldn't be here if we didn't.
It's not like we don't have any, any huge fights, but I mean, there's going to be disagreements, but it's great that we're both right here. We can talk about it. I mean, when I was at work, I had coworkers on a different coast, and sometimes I needed to talk to them. It was difficult. I'd send emails, I'd leave voicemails. They would, sometimes they wouldn't get back to me, and I was, well, what happened? Oh, I was on vacation. Didn't tell you. Well, now when I need, I have to ask Kris a question about something that I don't understand that she does, and vice versa. We don't have to call on the phone. We can just yell across the house.
Yes. I'd say probably not knowing what to do sometimes, not knowing all the answers, because it's just not your area of expertise. But that hasn't been tremendously challenging because we do know that you just call. You just call and you ask somebody. You just call. Could be a vendor, or it could be a helpline, whoever it is. Sometimes it's friends. You just call and you ask and you say, hey, how do I do this? How does this work? Can you explain it to me? Just because we can come and go as we please. Sometimes we do have to do things, but I love the flexibility of it. And we both love being able to be there for our son and attend his events and, not miss his growing up because he's 13 now. And we still got a number of years with him. So it was harder, like Sandro said earlier, being when he was younger and missing sometimes key events.
I mean, what's great is that, sometimes we're working hard and we're just like, let's take a break. You want to watch something on Netflix? We'll just move to another part of the house, and we'll, and just blow off some steam.
It became a choice between different online business brokers, and after checking out a number of them, because there's a few of them now in the market, I was impressed with Empire Flippers because they are so involved. A lot of other places come right out and say, well, we don't vet these businesses. So, you're totally on your own and you need to do your own due diligence, which, may or may not be an issue. But Empire Flippers made the choice easy because they vet and because they're so involved in the whole process, from A to Z. And so there's a great feeling of confidence in them. Because of that, they instill a great deal of confidence in the sellers. And, they may make suggestions. Well, what's your experience level? What's your background? Your skills might be a better fit with this one. And then they also allow you to get your own due diligence done by a third party and bring that in. So they're totally flexible. They're easy to.
Also, they interviewed us. They listened to our story and thought about what we might need, and they had suggestions about certain businesses that they thought might fit us, which was great.
Well, in the end, I think the decision was made for us because we knew we couldn't be attached to a location. When we found out that the school that where our son was going to be attending was 2.5 hours away from LA, where we currently lived, we knew we couldn't buy an offline business. They were key just because of their service. It's a real differential, and it was important to us, and it made the difference between buying and not buying. It really did. And when it comes time to sell, we expect to sell through Empire Flippers also, just because our experience was so good. And I would recommend them to anyone.
Working with Empire Flippers, it's been very helpful and very easy. They've been very understanding. We had questions; they were very quick to answer them. And if we had any little problems, they were there for us. They had a lot of choices of businesses, and we discussed the different choices and finally settled on what we have now. But it was pretty, the explanations were really good on how this business worked or that business, the choices, the ones we could buy, and we were able to ask some questions of the Empire Flippers people, and it was very helpful.
And then we were allowed to do third-party checks to check books and make us feel comfortable, do our due diligence, and find out background on both of the Shopify stores, and do that sort of due diligence until we got comfortable with what we were purchasing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that was done, then we went ahead and did the money transactions, and Empire Flippers acts sort of as an escrow. They manage that whole process between the two parties. They clarify things. They go and they get all the information you need. They explain how things are done. So they're very accessible and user-friendly. And that was an easy process.
I mean, the hard part was, just getting over it psychologically. Like, I'm not going to be working at a job I've been working at for a long time.
That was hard as well.
Well, it was hard and easy at the same time.
Well, I think for me, as a business owner, I think the hardest thing is not knowing, and maybe it is that fear factor that you're talking about. I think of taking the leap and going forward and knowing that you're going to be able to handle any sort of challenge that comes up, and you're going to be able to get over it and get through it, and you'll be okay, which you will be, you just, because you learn as you go along. So you always know more today than you did yesterday. I would tell them to check out what they're doing. I'd tell them to use Empire Flippers, but I would tell them to, vet as much as they can. You're not going to be able to know everything. It's just like buying a car or a house or any other big purchase. You won't know everything. You can't know everything. So, and that fear of the unknown is what keeps a lot of people from taking the jump. But I think that you will be okay. And there's always an expert or someone you can ask or you can learn how to do anything. 5.
Okay, 5. I mean, I always say nobody's perfect, but they were really great. So I will give them a 5.
Yeah, I mean, for me, they always answered questions, even 5 months into the process, or now we're 8 months into the process. I mean, so whenever we have questions or anything, it's easy to, like I said, to jump online and ask anybody, and they're always helpful. They're not like, oh, well, this deal is closed, we don't have time for you. They make it easy. There's always somebody there. They're an obvious choice over the competitors.